Codex has completely replaced Claude Code for me. And this is coming from someone who spent thousands of dollars and hundreds of hours using Claude as their daily driver for the last 6 months. So in this video, I'll show you why I switched, how to maximize Codex, and how to use it as more than just a coding agent. Because Codex is not just for writing code anymore. It can work with your files, use plugins and skills, browse the web, control your browser and your computer, work with documents, spreadsheets, run automations, and even move entire projects forward. And as of right now, it is the best agent-first tool I've used. So what actually is Codex? So Codex is OpenAI's response to Claude Code. Originally, it was launched as a CLI tool, but they've turned it into a full-blown agent-first workspace. And it can do so much more than what ChatGPT can do because it's not just for coding. You can use it for things like projects and creating folders inside of your computer. You can create documents, you can edit documents, you can have the agent run a bunch of commands. You can spin up multiple agents behind the scenes and have them running across multiple projects. It is, to me, again, the best way to get work done with agents as of today. So the best thing about Codex has to be how intuitive it is to use to work across multiple projects. So right off the bat, they have ability to create a project and you can use an existing folder or start from scratch. Folders are a good way to sort of have a collection of all of the information and knowledge that you need for a task. So for example, here I was creating a new skill, which we'll cover in a second, but Codex lets you sort of create projects and easily spin up new threads. So this means you can have multiple threads running for different types of tasks, right? So maybe you have a thread for researching, for assets, for diagrams, for coding. So it's very easy to spin up, like I said, multiple chats and see their progress. If I want to spin up a new one, I just click this here. I can go in and behind the scenes, this will run. This will run as many tasks that I want. And when it's done, I can just come in here and click and see. So here I just said, like, can you research some news? And then here I was like, can you help me improve the skills? So you can imagine you can have a bunch of these running on a single project doing multiple things for you at the same time. So maybe you need some assets, you need some scripting, maybe you want to do some coding. You just come in here, spin up a bunch of chats, and just have them running at the same time. And then when you're ready, you come back and review them. And the reason I like this is this keeps the agent work from becoming one giant messy chat. It helps you organize the work around files, which in my opinion is a lot cleaner way to sort of work with agents, especially if you're trying to do a bunch of tasks in one go. The other part of Codex, which is extremely underrated, is their file tree and file explorer. So if I click here and I can toggle the file tree, I can see all of the files that the agent currently is working on for a project. If I want to see maybe the project or the document it created, I can click on this and it's going to open a nice little tab. If I click on this, it's going to open a new tab. So now I have this very easy to use native sort of UI that I'm very familiar with across all of my folders and files for this specific project. And it's really easy just to hide them, toggle them. I can even show the terminal, which interestingly enough, I've actually just stopped touching the terminal. I used to be someone who would work all the time in the terminal with Claude Code, but now ever since sort of Codex came out, exclusively, I'm just in here using this. And the thing is, like, you can just tell that they've spent a lot of time sort of mapping out how this is going to feel. I can see, the summary of the agent, what it's going to do, the artifacts that it's created. There's like a progress if you're running long form tasks, and you just know, like, the team that are behind Codex use this every day because it just feels really intuitive. Compared to Claude Code, I just found that it just felt like very laggy and buggy. Like it had different tabs for each thing that I was working on. Like they had a tab for coding, they had a tab for co-work, and I'm like, what's the difference between code and co-work? And then they had a tab for chat. Codex just unifies it in a single app, and it's very, very intuitive. So by now, you've probably seen that everyone is trending towards plugins and skills, and they are a way to sort of customize the knowledge or your domain knowledge on a topic and give it to an agent so that it can sort of repeat that task for you with high accuracy and actually do it so that it's useful and you're able to use it again. So what OpenAI did, they made plugins and skills first-class citizens of Codex to make it more than just like a regular chatbot. Now I can go into here, I can click on the plugins, and they give me a bunch of default plugins that I can use right off the bat, which I really like. So they have things like computer use and browser use, which are two very, very powerful tools. I'll cover that in a second. And they have things like spreadsheets, presentations. There's a whole bunch of things here that are just ready to go. I just click the plus, it installs, it's super easy to use. It's also very easy to install a skill. All I do is type in /skill creator, give the link of a GitHub repository that I want to install, and Codex will just perfectly install that for me. I don't need to worry about install paths and configurations. It has a skill to help you install other skills. And one of the things that is very underrated is that you have the ability to queue and steer your prompts. So here I said, create me a spreadsheet with the top 10 AI companies who raised a Series B in the last 6 months. And what it's going to do is actually it's going to go out and do all that research. But maybe I wanted to add another column to it, or I wanted it to do something as it's running. So let's say I want to also include their evaluation. So I can submit that. Now, two things happen. So right off the bat, the default functionality, which you can change, is it will queue to run at the include their evaluation. So I can submit that. Now, two things happen. So right off the bat, the default functionality, which you can change, is it will queue to run at the very end. So this is an important distinction. There's this steer button. And what this will do is it will inject my prompt in the middle of the execution chain so that the next tool call, it will see what my prompt is. And I like this because on Claude Code, when I submit my message, it automatically sends it to the model. Here, I have the option. If I wanted to do a follow-up task, which is what I'm asking here, I can do that. But if I wanted to remember this in the middle of the task, I can do that as well. So I'll go ahead and click steer. Now what the model is going to do, or what Codex is going to do, is it's going to say, okay, great, I need to also include their valuation. So it's going to go ahead and include that as a part of its task list. And because it's so vertically integrated, it has the ability to sort of take screenshots on its behalf. So if I click on this, it gives me a little screenshot here as it's sort of running. So I'm going to let this finish and we'll kind of go over the results after. Okay, so while that's running, I want to cover browser use. So to use browser use, all I have to do is click in /browser use and give it a command. Now, what is browser use? Codex lets you spin up a new browser for every single chat that you have and let it autonomously do work. So here I said, go open a browser and go to OpenAI's website and find their developer docs. Now, it's nice because I can spin up more than just one browser. I don't need to give up control of my computer, and we'll go to computer use in a second. I can have the agent by itself spin up as many browsers as I need to do the task at hand. This is really, really useful for a lot of use cases that you normally wouldn't be able to do with like a regular agent. So researching pages that maybe have a hard time rendering or have a lot of captcha issues, taking screenshots as it's doing something. So here I said, find me flights from YVR to SF and take screenshots. I can check product pages. So, if you need to look at some specific products or you wanted to grab some images from that, it can do that for you. All right. So now I have my Excel sheet. Boom. I have the rounds, the source notes where it got the source, and it has a summary. And this is a XLX, so I can export this to whatever I want. This is what I was saying is just I can open up a new browser if I really wanted to. The ability to sort of have these tabs and this unified interface with all of these capabilities is so useful. Maybe I want to turn this into a presentation. Turn this into a nice presentation. Now it's going to be able to take the data that I have, the spreadsheet, in the same task and just turn it into a spreadsheet. Now that it's created this presentation, let's see what it's done. Okay. Again, just take a look at this UI. Just take a look at this UI. It just feels thought out. It's not like a random render. Like this looks like a SaaS for presentations, but it was just Codex. So here I can check, I can expand as well. So if I wanted to see how this is looking, all right, this looks good to me. Pretty well styled, has all the data that I want. Come on. This would have used to take someone like hours of work and it was just running in the background for us while we were doing a bunch of other stuff. The task that I gave it earlier for finding flights. So let's see, where did it go? Okay, so it has found me some flights next week. I didn't give it a return date and did what it asked. I asked it for some screenshots. Now, if I really wanted to, I could ask this to upload it to a spreadsheet. I have Google Drive, so I can connect to any of my connectors here immediately and ask it based on this task to go and send it to Google Drive or Google Sheets or anywhere that I want to. So now let's take a look at computer use, which is a little bit different than browser use. To enable it, you click on the plus, click on plugins, and make sure you type computer use. There are some permissions that you have to enable when using computer use because what it's doing is it's using, in this case, my Mac behind the scenes for me. Now, the benefit is that it has access to my computer with all my logins. Now, some might say that's unsecure. I say that it's really useful because there's a lot of sites that the agents can't naturally access. They have CAPTCHAs, they get blocked by everything. So let's take a look at exactly what it did. I said, open up a new tab and search for the price of Google for today. And you guys can't see it here, but I have another tab open where it did just that for me. But let's take a look at the steps. And the difference here is it actually will look at your Mac apps. So I think the computer use might only be available for Mac. It sees what's available. it says, oh, Chrome is running. So then it's going to open a new Chrome tab. It's going to look into the tab I had open. So I had some YouTube videos that I was looking at. It's going to open a new tab, type in the stock price, and all the while it's taking screenshots. Now, this computer use is not actually just limited to Chrome. In this example, I gave it to Chrome, but you can imagine any app that your computer has access to, Codex can operate. So maybe I wanted to look on my linear board, or maybe I wanted to look on my Slack. Things that maybe might not have APIs, I can let Codex do behind the scenes for me because I don't even need to be paying attention. Like I can just ask it, please open a new instance of an app and do the work. I feel like this is the part that really changed it for me because it moved away from, again, just being a coding tool. It is a general agent sort of work tool. It can do any task end to end on my computer without me even having to pay attention. Codex also lets you very easily create automations. And this basically lets you have Codex at a specific time that you want, wake up, do some work for you, and do that on a schedule. And it's super easy to set up as well because I just put it in a prompt that I want in natural language. So you can imagine if you have a folder that requires you to check something or do something in the morning. So I have a YouTube folder that I want this agent to do work on. I want it to wake up every morning and go find me the latest trends and create a document for me. So I could say every day at 9 a.m., use the YouTube research skill and find me trends and create a document on what's interesting. So once I set this, now every day at 9 a.m., it is going to do the work for me. And I don't have to worry about anything else. Again, pretty similar to other tools, but it is a nice little add-on to the existing Codex app. And again, I like it because it's just encompassed in one spot. Codex also lets you pick the model. And this is where some people kind of get tripped up. They're like, what model do I pick? So you have two models to pick from, GPT 5.5 and 5.4. In my testing, I've just basically defaulted everything to 5.5. It does use your rate limits a bit quicker, but if you're on the $100 a month plan, I find it pretty hard to hit my rate limits. Like I've been using this all day, every day for the last like week, and I'm just not even close to hitting my rate limits. There's the intelligence. So if you're using 5.5, what I would say is that low for most tasks does a pretty good job. You don't need high or extra high. I even find that sometimes like having extra high does mess it up a bit. But if you're doing really complicated coding tasks that have like a lot of files and like backend work, I would select high. You can also adjust the speed. It does use limits a lot faster, but in my experience, I'm still not running into any rate limits, and just having it run faster, it's been pretty nice. Like I don't have to wait around for like 20 minutes. It does most of the things in like 5-10. There are some scenarios that I would use 5.4, but it's only if I'm worried about my rate limit. I've just been sticking to 5.5. I'll even walk you through a real example that I've been using. So I wanted to create Excali draw drawings for different YouTube videos. So originally I had the skill, I installed it, and I was like, okay, let's actually use it. And so here I was asking it for a YouTube video to come up with a bunch of Excali draw drawings and using the Excali draw skill. And it did that for me. It opened a browser, it basically created the diagrams, and then even tested it to see like whether or not the diagrams were pasted. Like it just feels like such a powerful end-to-end sort of work tool. Like I can use it to pretty much automate almost all aspects of work or anything related to sort of work. Now, why did I swap over? In addition to the app just being way better, I felt that Anthropic's rate limits were very, very limiting. Like if you had a $20 a month plan, one prompt would just completely nuke your limits. So you had to upgrade to the 100. And then when you did upgrade to the 100, they had bugs that would basically consume your limits way higher than before. And you combine that with, in my opinion, a less than polished app and all of the other sort of like stuff that they've been having, where in March they had like degraded performance and everyone said Claude got dumber, but they would just say, no, it didn't get dumber. And then it turns out that they did introduce a bug. It just felt like the right natural switch to try Codex. And ever since I've tried Codex, I haven't felt the need to go back and open Claude. There are times, though, that you still do want to use Claude. So, for example, if you're using it for design or you're using it for creating front ends and sort of these really nice and thoughtful designs, I will admit GPT 5.5 doesn't have that taste, and I would recommend that you do stick with Claude. But for everything else, Codex is the tool. It's still, again, the number one tool right now, in my opinion, to work with on agents. It's easy to use. It has like just everything that you would need and extremely powerful. And so that is it for today's video. If you liked it, please subscribe. If you didn't, let me know what you didn't like, and I'll try to improve it next time. But that's it. I'll see you in the next one.